Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome, dear student. This is your course Biochemistry 2 and code Chem 342. Today we are having lecture 44 and today's topic is hormones of pancreas. Actually, hormones of pancreas belong to the third class of hormones we know, that is peptide hormones. This is your teacher, Dr. Naim Khan, Department of Chemistry, CUSP. Outlines for today's topic. Today we will discuss an introduction of the peptide hormones. That is the third class of hormones to which these hormones of pancreas belong. And then we will go to this one type of the peptide hormone, that is the hormones released by pancreas. So we will discuss the morphology and histology of pancreas gland. Then we will go to the chemistry and functions of one of the hormones released by pancreas, and that is insulin. And then we will discuss the other hormones of pancreas, that is glucagon. We will elaborate the chemistry and functions of glucagon. Let to have a start. Peptide hormones. Peptide hormones are actually the hormones which include hormones secreted by the pancreas and hormones of the hypophysis, which is also commonly known as pituitary gland, and hormones of the parathyroid gland, and hormones of the gastrointestinal tract. As we have discussed this in our previous lectures, we have three major classes of hormones based on the chemistry, and one is the peptide hormones. This is the third class, and the other two we already explained. The third and then final type of hormone is the peptide hormone. These are the hormones which are actually having protein or protein derivatives. They are having peptide bond in their structure. These hormones include those which are secreted by basically pancreas, pituitary gland, parathyroid gland, or gastrointestinal tract. So, peptide hormones, hormones of this class include hormones secreted by these basically the main three glands: pancreas, pituitary gland, and parathyroid gland. And also some hormones which are secreted by the gastrointestinal tract are also categorized in this type. Need to have start. Morphology of pancreas. Pancreas, actually the word pancreas is derived from pancreas, P-A-N-K-R-E-A-S, pancreas. And this is made up of two words, pan, that is from Greek, P-A-N, pan. Pan means Greek, which means all, and kiras, K-R-E-A-S, that is also Greek, which means flesh. Actually, this name was given to pancreas because it was all fleshy nature. Pancreas is all having fleshy nature, so it was called pancreas, all flesh. So pancreas literally means, from Greek point of view, Greek language, that is all fleshy nature. Pancreas is actually having both exocrine and endocrine gland nature. That is, it secretes some of the secretion that is requires a duct, and through duct it is transported to the targets. But it's more important, hormones are those which are secreted directly into the blood or lymphatic system, and they are distributed. So this gland is having a dual nature. Some of its hormones are exocrine, some are endocrine. Some of its hormones require having a duct, bile duct, and some are not having requiring duct, so they are secreted into the circulatory system. Pancreas gland is located below and behind the stomach. It is below the stomach and actually behind the stomach, and located between the curve of duodenum and spleen. There is a curve between spleen and duodenum, behind the stomach and below the stomach, where this pancreas is located. Pancreas is actually compact structure and lobulated organ which resemble to the elongated cone line on its side. If we can see the structure like here, one is the expanded end and other is the elongated needle like. So this end is called a style, and this is head, and This shape pancreas is located behind and below the stomach between the curve of duodenum and spleen, and this is a compact structure lobulated organ which is in the form of elongated cone. This is like a cone. This shape can be traced out in the gel biochemistry. Coming to the histology, pancreas is basically made up of two types of cells. Here we can see one types of cells are like this in the form of series, and one is in the middle. So there are two types of cell. One is called glandular cells, which are also called acinar or acini. Actually, these are glandular cell, acinar or acini. They are made up of bulk of pancreatic tissues. These cells are making the main body of the pancreatic, and they secrete the digestive juices into the duodenum by the pancreatic duct, which is exocrine function. Pancreas has two types of cell. One are the glandular cell or acinar or acini. Actually, they are making the bulk of pancreatic tissues, and actually these are the cells which are secreting the digestive juices to duodenum, and these are through pancreatic duct. So this is the functions of the pancreas as in exocrine gland. Other types of cells are the polygonal cell, or which are also called islets of Langerhans. These are the islets of Langerhans. They are actually polygonal cell, or simply they are called islets, which pour their secretion, which include insulin and glucagon, directly into the blood. So this is endocrine function of the pancreas. As we discuss in our last slide, that pancreas gland is both exocrine and endocrine, and from the histologic point of view, we can see here that pancreas is basically made up of two types of cell. One is the actually secreting the exocrine secretion, that is digestive juices through pancreatic duct, and these cells are called acini or acinar, which is making the main bulk. These are acini like this. And the other types of the polygonal cell, which are islets of Langerhans, which are in the middle, and these are actually polygonal cell. They are secreting their secretions, which include insulin and glucagon, and these secretions are secreted into the blood. This is endocrine function. Hormones of pancreas, as we mentioned, in pancreas secrete two types of hormone, which is insulin and the other is glucagon. They are endocrine function. Insulin, if we see, they are composed of 51 amino acids. As we mentioned at the first slide, that these are peptide hormones. So look, they are made up of 15 amino acids, which are held by peptide bond. They are made up of 15 amino acids, and they are linked in two chains. Here we can see this is chain 1, this is chain 2, and the two chains are containing 51 amino acids. So this chain is made up of here is made up of 30, this is made up of 21 amino acids. One chain, A chain, made up of 21 amino acids, and the other chain B is made up of 30 amino acids. Here we can see that the two chains are having cross linkages of the cysteine residues. Here the cysteine amino acid at position number 7 is linked with the cysteine amino acid linked at position number 7 of the B chain. This is disulfide bond. We know that cysteine is having SH group at the end, so that is cross-linked here. Also, we have one link between the amino acid at 20, which is cysteine, and amino acid at position 19 of the B chain. They are also linked to disulfide linkage. One disulfide linkage is between the cysteine at position number 6 of chain A with the cysteine at position number 11 of cysteine. So there are three linkages. Basically, one linkage is between the two amino acids of the alpha chain, that is position 6 and position 7, in position 11, and the other two linkages are between the two chain, that is position number 6 of the two chain and position number 7. And also the other disulfide linkage is between the cysteine at position number 20 and cysteine position number 19 of beta chain. So insulin is a typical protein that is made up of amino acids, and the amino acids are arranged in two chains, A chain, B chain, alpha chain, beta chain. Alpha chain is having 21 amino acids and beta chain is having 30 amino acids. The two polypeptide chains are held together by cross linkages of the two disulfide bond, and these disulfide bonds are found between the cysteine residues of the two amino acids. The acidic chain, A is called acidic chain contain 21 amino acids, and the beta chain, peptide chain B is having 30 amino acid residues. By simplifying, we can see like this structure. Look, disulfide linkages are shown. These are the acid end, this is the basic end, this is IH end, is amino end, this is acid end. So these structure can be traced in the GLGN biochemistry book. Functions of insulin. Insulin is a very common these days due to the involvement in sugar, so it's a very common hormone. This is the insulin which is facilitating the entry of glucose and other sugar into the cells by increasing penetration of the cell membrane and enhancing phosphorylation of glucose, thus lowering the sugar content of the blood. What insulin is doing? Insulin is actually facilitating the glucose and other sugar into the cell. How it is done? It is actually changing the penetration of these molecules into the cell membrane of the cell. So when it is increasing the penetration power, the molecules are more fast inside the cell, and this actually enhancing the phosphorylation, the conversion of glucose into ATP or glucose 6-phosphate, so glucose concentration is decreased. All these factors, they are passing glucose into the cell, that is decreasing the glucose level in the blood, and also the phosphorylation of glucose actually decreasing its level. So this overall is having decreasing effect. It is decreasing glucose in the blood, so we can say hypoglycemic factor, HG factor. Insulin promotes protein synthesis, that is proteogenesis. Synthesis of protein is enhanced by insulin. This is done by assisting incorporation of amino acids and proteins. So insulin is helping the incorporation of amino acids into protein, which is helping in protein synthesis, which is called proteogenesis. Insulin also have anti-proteolytic agent, discourages excessive breakdown of tissue protein. Anti-proteolytic, it is not allowing protein lysis, NT, proteolytic, protein lytic, NT. So insulin is actually discouraging the protein lysis, so actually it is avoiding the protein degradation. Lipogenesis is also stimulated by insulin. Insulin actually enhancing the lipogenesis. Functions of insulin include it influences the inorganic metabolism, that is phosphate and potassium. Phosphate and potassium metabolism is actually influenced by insulin. Insulin lower the blood phosphate level and facilitate absorption of inorganic phosphate by the cell. A similar mechanism operates in the potassium uptake. So definitely these are having effects on potassium level, that is absorbing more potassium. In general, insulin promotes anabolic processes. That is, insulin is promoting synthesis of glycogen, synthesis of fatty acids, synthesis of protein we saw. And this is actually inhibiting catabolic ones, so breakdown. So glucogen, insulin is basically affecting anabolism and decreasing catabolism. Deficiency of insulin have serious impact. For example, deficiency of insulin leads to diabetes, and diabetes has so many characteristics. For example, increase in the sugar level, which is called hyperglycemia. It is appearance of sugar in the urine, which is glycosuria, and increase in the concentration of ketone bodies in the blood, which is ketonemia, or increased ketone bodies in ketonuria. uh, ketonuria, large excretion of urine, which is called polyuria, especially at night, which is nocturia, excessive drinking of water, which is polyuridipsia, excessive eating is polyphagia, or lack of energy is asthenia. So lack of deficiency of insulin is a serious causing serious disorder, which is diabetes mellitus, and diabetes may cause hyperglycemia, that is increase of the glucose level in the blood, that is called glucosuria, that is increase of sugar in the urine. That is may also called ketonemia, a ketone body increase in the blood, or ketonuria, that is increase of ketone bodies in urine. Large excretion of urine may also result because of the diabetes, which is polyuria, or nocturia at night, that is taking too much water, polydipsia, or philophagia, eating too much because the person becomes hungry, and that's a lack of energy, asthenia. Coming to the next hormone of pancreas, and that is glucagon. Glucagon, just like insulin, is made up of 29 amino acids, and there is of 15 different types. All 20 types are not here, and they are arranged in a linear row. Insulin was in two rows. Here we have one row. Histidine is the N terminal of amino acid and threonine is the C terminal. N terminal is the first amino acid and that is histidine, and the C terminal is threonine. Insulin contains no cysteine, proline, or isoleucine, but possesses methionine and tryptophan in appreciable amounts. This is unique in the structure of the histidine. Actually, histidine. This is not insulin. Sorry, this is histidine. It contains no cysteine, proline, or isoleucine, but it consisting of methionine and tryptophan. The small amounts of sulfur present in the form of methionine rather in the cysteine. There is no cysteine in glucagon. There are 29 amino acids and they are not having cysteine, proline or isoleucine, and they are having slight sulfur content, which is not because of cysteine, that is because of methionine. Here we can see the structure. These are the 21 9 amino acids linked in a linear chain. Histidine is the first one, threonine is the last one, and here we can say no cysteine here. Is a unique structure, and this structure can be traced in the GL biochemistry book. Functions of glucagon. Glucagon influences carbohydrate metabolism in a manner opposite to the insulin. Insulin was actually decreasing the glucose level, but glucogen will increase. For example, here we can see that glycogen actually increases, actually converting ATP adenosine triphosphate to cyclic AMP. Cyclic adenosine monophosphate and the pyrophosphate is released. This is actually done by the presence of enzyme adenine cyclase, and this cyclic AMP then catalyze the phosphorylase B kinase, which is inactive form, into activated form, and this phosphorylase B kinase, and then converting the 2-phosphorylase B, which is inactive, into active form. We have phosphorylase A active form, and in this way 4 ATP molecules are consumed. This phosphorylase A then converting the glycogen into glucose 1-phosphate, and we know that glucose 1-phosphate then passes to the blood and it is converted to glucose. So in this way, glucagon is actually increasing the blood glucose level. That is, it is causing the glycogen to convert it into the glucose. Some more function. Glucagon actually increases the blood sugar content, as we saw that it is breaking down the glycogen. So it is termed as hyperglycemic factor. Its effective insulin was hypoglycemic, but it is hyperglycemic factor. It is increasing the blood glucose level. In the liver, glucagon stimulates glycogenolysis, glycogen breakdown, and gluconeogenesis production of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources such as protein and fat. In the liver, actually, glucagon does two things: glycogenolysis, the stored glycogen in the liver that is broken down, so glucose is released into the blood, hyperglycemic factor. Another thing which it is catalyzing is gluconeogenesis, synthesis of glucose from the non-carbohydrate sources, that is protein and fat, that is also activated by the glucagon. Glucagon affects lipid metabolism by accelerating ketogenesis and inhibiting synthesis of fatty acid. So this is also this effect is also in opposing manner to the insulin, that glucagon affects the lipid metabolism by accelerating. It is accelerating ketogenesis, and actually glucagon inhibits the synthesis of fatty acid. This is in reverse way to the insulin. Glucagon has a catabolic action on protein. That is, it is catalyzing the proteolysis. In the body, results in excretion enough nitrogen and phosphorus and decrease of the liver tissue and loss of the body weight. In the last slides, we saw that insulin is actually having anti-proteolytic, but here glucagon is a proteolytic agent. This is actually breaking down more proteins, so the release of nitrogen is more, so there's more nitrogen loss and more phosphorus loss in the urine, and this is actually decreasing the liver tissue and the loss of body weight. So if there is more protein breakdown, so there will be loss body weight loss. Once again, students, the two books, the recommended textbook, Western Todd and J.L. John are strongly recommended. You people must go to these books, and the points we discussed today needs a thorough elaboration. You will see all these points in good and develop a good lecture. See from today onward. See you next time. Allah Hafiz.